Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So here we have our last video for our 2022 Valentine's Day series, and I made Lobster Thermidor. It looks harder than it is. It's really simple, so we're gonna hop right into the video. So I'm starting off with 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna let that melt, and then I'm gonna take I have 2 8-ounce lobster tails. Guys, you can do 4 ounce. If you're doing 4 ounce, I think you should have 2 per person. So I did 8, and I just cooked them for about 6 minutes. 2 minutes on, as you see, the bottom, and then 2 minutes on one side, and then 2 minutes on the other side. You can actually bake these for about 6 minutes on 400 degrees, but I just think it's better to cook them on using the same pan that you're going to make your sauce out of, because that seafood flavor will be infused in the sauce. So after about 6 minutes, I'm going to remove, and I have my stove on a medium heat. And after about 6 minutes, I'm going to remove my lobster and add in 1 tablespoon of butter and just let that melt, because we are going to deglaze this pan from all of that goodness of the lobster tails, whatever fell off. And then I added in 1/4 cup of minced shallots, and I'm just gonna let the shallots cook in that butter for about 3 minutes. And then this part is optional. You don't have to add mushrooms to it. The recipe, actually, the original recipe calls for mushrooms. I'm not a big fan of mushrooms, so I dice my mushrooms up really small, and I only put in 1/3 cup of mushrooms. But again, it's optional. But it's gonna, if you dice them up small, it's gonna mask, like you're not gonna be able to taste them. So after about 4 minutes, I went ahead and added in 1 tablespoon of flour, and I'm just gonna let this all mix in together. And don't worry about the bottom of the pan, guys. We're gonna deglaze it. It's gonna be fine. But after you throw in your flour, and I'm gonna let that cook, and you're gonna see the flour start to stick to the pan. That's okay. But I'm gonna let that cook for about 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna throw in 1 shot or 1 tablespoon, however much you want to put in it, of cognac. I'm using Hennessy, but you can use whatever type of cognac or brandy that you prefer. And as soon as you put that alcohol in, it's gonna kind of like disappear, and that's okay. So you're gonna put your cognac in, and then immediately following, I'm using half and half. So I added in about 1.5 cups of half and half. So that's, if you don't have half and half, you can use milk, and then at the end, just pour some heavy whipping cream in. It's your preference, but I'm using 1.5 cups of half and half, and I'm just gonna let that. As you can see, my pan is, the bottom of the pan is deglazed. There's no more of the stuff sticking to the bottom of the pan, and your sauce is going to start to thicken up. And it took honestly, about maybe 8 to 10 minutes for it to get nice and thick like this. And you can actually season your sauce. I just added in some salt and pepper, because this sauce has so much flavor with the hints of cognac in the back. It's just delicious. So at this point, I cut my stove completely off, and I'm just going to let my sauce cool down, and then I'm gonna go back to my lobster tails. So at this point, I am going to, because we need the shells to stuff the lobster tails, so I'm gonna take the lobster meat out I'm taking the shell off the bottom, and then I'm just gonna take the lobster tail out. You can use your hands, or you can use a spoon, whatever you need to use to get that lobster meat out. But it should be able to come out pretty easily. And then just make sure, you don't have any veins in your lobsters. Cut it open and to make sure you don't have any, and if you do, just take them out. And then you want to do this for all of your lobster tails. And then I kind of like just rinse out my lobster tails, the shells, just to make sure there's no like shells in there. You know how it can kind of break apart a little bit, any debris. We're just gonna move that out of the shells. And once you have it all taken out, it should look something like this. And we are just going to cut up our lobster meat. I cut mine up into medium-sized pieces. You can do it however big you want to do it, honestly. I just kind of, if it's easier, just cut your meat in half, and then you'll see when I do it, I'll do a better presentation. I cut the second one in half, and then cut the halves in little cubes, if that makes sense. But if you're making smaller lobster tails, if you're doing the 4 ounce, don't cut it in half and cut it that way. Just cut it up in like little medium-sized pieces. I prefer the 8-ounce lobster tails because you get more meat. But I'm going to cut everything up, and then we are going to be ready to make the filling that we are actually going to stuff our lobster tails in. So now I'm just going to throw that lobster meat into a bowl, and then I'm going to add in that sauce that should be nice and thick, as you can see now, into my bowl. And then I'm going to squeeze some lemon juice. I decided to add some crab meat since I didn't add a lot of mushrooms, but that is completely optional. Crab meat is not, you don't have to do that, but I just wanted to be extra. And then if you have some tarragon, throw in some tarragon. I didn't, so I added in some parsley, and I'm just going to carefully mix that all around to, make sure I don't break up the crab meat. And once it's mixed, we will be ready to stuff our shells. Now, when it comes to stuffing the shells, you guys put as much meat in there as you want to, but just make sure everything is nicely secured in that shells. You want to make sure it's nice and stuffed and packed down in there. And once you stuff all your meat in your shells, you want to sprinkle just a little bit of breadcrumbs on top. And then I took some melted butter and just drizzled that on top. And then I sprinkled just a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top of that. And I'm going to place these in my oven. Again, my oven is preheated to 450 degrees for 10 minutes. The last minute, you can broil them just so that the tops can get, that nice brown golden color. And after 10 minutes, we will be ready for presentation time, because for Valentine's Day, we all know presentation is key. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes, and now we are going to plate our plate, and I'm just using a little prop salad and a grilled lemon, and I'm just going to place my beautiful golden brown lobsters on my plate. You see, I packed it up just a little too high. It was leaning just a little bit, so I had to place the lemon to hold it. But that's pretty much it, guys. Just put your lobsters on there and clean your plate, and that's it. It was so good. I asked my fiance, is this a top 5 dish? And he was like, no, top 3. Y'all got to try this dish. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys are washing your hands, and I will see you guys at my next video.